Hello, YouTube. Today I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to do something similar to what I did in my. Um, I'm going to be doing something similar to what I did for my best horror movies. What I consider to be, the best horror movies within the past few years. But um, so I'm going to be doing something similar to that. The only difference is I'm going to be talking about um, the best Blumhouse, the best films from Blumhouse Productions. Now, I know that I'm more than well aware that Blumhouse doesn't exactly have the most stellar reputation. They have undoubtedly made a lot of shitty movies over the years. Two of the biggest, most recent examples are Imaginary and Night Swim. However, there are some movies that they've done that are very, 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 very good. So I'm going to be talking about. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about those. So let's get started. First up, we have Halloween 2018. Now, this movie serves as a. This movie was basically a reboot of the timeline. So this movie ignores. Um, so in this new timeline, all the only movies that are canon in this new timeline is the original movie. So like it completely ignores Halloween 2, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween 6. Um H2O, Resurrection, the Rob Zombie ones. This one erases all of those movies um from the timeline and creates. And this movie was the start of a new timeline. Like I said, it was basically um, like a reboot. Like a reboot of the timeline. If you know how, or maybe you don't, but like with Terminator: Dark Fate, that movie served as a sequel to Terminator 2. Um, so it ignored all the other Terminator movies that came before it. This is the same thing. Um, and this movie is fantastic. This movie is, I mean, this is how Halloween should be done. This is, um, this is how Halloween sequels should be done. But I'll read you guys the back. It says Jamie Lee Curtis returns to her iconic role as Laurie Strode, who comes to her final confrontation with Michael Myers, the masked figure who has haunted her since she narrowly escaped his killing spree on Halloween 4 decades ago. So, yes, so this is, like I said before, this is a sequel to the original Halloween. This is what, obviously, because John Carpenter wasn't involved um, with, with any of the Halloween sequels past Halloween 2. Um, when Blumhouse decided, to turn this into a trilogy, John Carpenter was basically like, well, okay, if they're really going to do this again, then I have to come back. So, um, so this is undoubtedly the definitive Halloween sequel. If you guys haven't seen this, you need to see this. And I will give you a word of warning. This is literally the only good Halloween movie that came out of the Blumhouse trilogy. The other movies were, don't even get me started. But anyway, now this one I already talked about in my other, in my best horror movies of recent years video, so I'm not gonna get I'm not gonna get too much into this one. All I'll say of it is this is from Scott. This is from Scott Cargill and Scott and I'm sorry. This is from C. Robert Cargill and Scott Derrickson, who did they did Sinister together. They did Doctor Strange together. Um, pretty much everything that they do together is phenomenal, and this movie is no exception. If you guys haven't seen this, you need to give this a watch because it is awesome, and it is definitely one of the best Blumhouse movies. It is also based on a short story by Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son. So yeah, if you guys haven't seen this, you need to give this a watch because this movie is awesome. Um, Next one is The Invisible Man. Now, the interesting thing about this one is, despite the title, this movie actually has nothing to do with, um, the original novel. Um, the novel by H.G. Wells. This movie literally has nothing to do with that. So, me personally, I found it. I've always found it kind of bizarre that that they decided to call it, the Invisible Man, um, despite have nothing to do with the original. Despite, sorry, despite have nothing to do with the original novel, but whatever. Anyway, um, yeah, so it says here, trapped in a violent, controlling relationship with a wealthy scientist, Cecilia escapes in the dead of night and disappears into hiding. But when her abusive ex suddenly dies, Cecilia suspects his death was a hoax, as a series of eerie coincidences turn lethal, threatening the lives of those she loves. Cecilia's sanity begins to unravel while she desperately tries to prove she's being hunted by somebody nobody can see. So yeah, this movie is fantastic. This is the kind of stuff that Blumhouse should be doing because I remember seeing this movie. I remember seeing this for the first time, and for me, it started off kind of slow. Um, for me, it started off kind of slow, and then later on, it started to pick up, and it started to get more and more intense. But yeah, no, this movie is awesome. If you guys haven't seen this, movie, you need to give you need to give this a watch. And as you can see, it's certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes. So, and the if anyone here watches Red Letter Media, Mike and Jay, they actually reviewed this movie and they actually really really liked it. So yeah, so if you guys haven't seen this, you need to give this a watch because it's awesome. Now this movie was a massive hit when it came out. Um, it is undoubtedly hands down one of the best movies that Blumhouse has ever done. And this is also Jordan Peele's directorial debut. So, or directorial debut. This was the first movie that he directed. Um, he had done a couple of, he had done, movies in the past, in terms of, like writing and producing. But as far as directing goes, this was his first movie. And yeah, this movie's a masterpiece. It says here, when Chris, a young African American man, visits his white girlfriend's family estate, he becomes ensnared in the most sinister real reason. He becomes ensnared in the more sinister real reason for the invitation. At first, Chris reads his family's overly accommodating behavior as nervous attempts um, to deal with their daughter's irracial relationship. But as the weekend progresses, a series of increasingly disturbing discoveries lead him to a truth that he could have never imagined. Um, that he could never have imagined. And then it says here and then it says here it's from Blumhouse and Jordan Peele and yada yada yada. But yeah, no, this movie is basically like part. It's like part horror, part thriller. Um, um, stuff like that. So if you guys haven't seen this, you need to give this a watch because this movie is so incredible. I cannot recommend this movie enough. Um, Now we have Freaky. This movie, um, this is another one certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes. Um, it's a, excuse me, this is a movie that mixes horror with comedy. So it has like that, it has, like that Scream, um, vibe to it where it mixes, horror with comedy. Um, but yeah, so this movie is um, basically a 17-year-old girl who's in high school. She swaps bodies with a serial killer, and um, so he so the serial killer takes the girl's body, and then the girl's body takes the serial killer's body, and it's so there's a great deal of like so you have it's interesting because neither one of them really seems like a threat at first, like when they swap bodies. I mean, she doesn't obviously, like seem like much of a threat, but once she starts, you know, w- once she starts doing, like serial killer type things, then yeah, you obviously know there's a problem. But yeah, no, this is very, very good. Um, if you guys haven't seen this, definitely check it out. It is definitely it's definitely one of the better. It's definitely one of the better movies that Blumhouse has done. And then this one, I talked about this movie a little bit in my video already, but Sinister. Now, this one again is C. Robert Cargill and Scott Derrickson. Um, and it says 10 years ago, true crime writer Ellison Oswald um, made his reputation with the best-selling account of a notorious murder. Now desperate to replicate the success of his first book, he moves his family into a home where the previous occupants were brutally executed and a child disappeared. Hoping to find inspiration in the crime scene in the home, Ellison discovers a catch of terrifying horror movies, or a case of terrifying horror movies, unwittingly opening the door into a nightmarish mystery. Um, this movie is fantastic. Like um, this movie is kind of like one of those. Um, this movie is kind of like one of those like slow burns at first. Um, it's very much like the tension is there, the mystery is there, and it's very much like a slow burn. um, because it's building up, that tension and that mystery. And then at the end, I'm not going to give away the ending, but the end is where this movie really comes together. Like I remember seeing this for the first time, and I couldn't believe how this movie ended. Like this movie, I mean, when I saw the ending, I was like, "Holy shit!" I mean, like literally, like how this movie ended just completely blew my mind. And if you're a fan of Derrickson and Cargill and you haven't seen this, go watch it. I'm serious, because it is just absolutely phenomenal. Now, this movie, Happy Death Day. Now, this movie, um, this is another one that mixes horror with comedy. Um, it is a, sorry, excuse me. It is about um, it is about a girl who is, I think she's in college. I don't remember. I saw this once and that was a while ago, so I don't really remember too much about it. But um, and um, she's very like self-centered. She's not a very nice person. Um, and um, and she is doomed to basically keep reliving the same she's reliving her murder, and she's basically doomed to keep reliving her murder unless she finds a way to um unless she finds a way to stop this like time loop that's happening. And honestly, when I first saw this movie, I this movie really reminded me um of David Fincher's The Game. If you guys have seen that movie, I think you'll know what um anyone who has seen that movie, I think will know, like what I'm getting at. But I got very serious The Game vibes from this movie, because um I felt like a lot of the same elements from that movie. I really felt like we're in this movie. So if you guys haven't seen this one, definitely give it a watch, because it is fantastic. Um, and then we have Happy Death Day to You, the sequel. Now this one I actually thought was even better than the first one when I saw it. And it says here, um, um, it's deja vu all over again for Tree. Um, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. I apologize. The snarky sorority sister who solved her own murder um, um, by repeatedly reliving her death. When the masked campus killer returns to terrorize new targets, Tree cycles through another time loop. Clever chills suspense in Happy Death Day to You. And yes, this is the follow up to the first movie. And like I said before, I thought this one was even better than the first one. So if you guys have seen the first one and haven't seen this one, or if you guys haven't seen if you guys haven't seen either one, even give them both a watch, because they are phenomenal. And then last we have Megan. Now um, this movie is from James Wan. Um, he's not the he didn't direct it, but he was, excuse me, sorry, he was He was one of the producers. He was one of the writers for the story. Um, James Wan is, is obviously brilliant when it comes to horror. He did he did the first Insidious movie. He did The Conjuring. He did Aquaman. But yeah, no. If So it says here, Megan is a marvel of artificial intelligence, a lifelike doll that's programmed to be a child's greatest companion and a partner's greatest ally. Designed by Gemma, um, Allison Williams, who I forgot to mention before, is the chick from Get Out. Um, 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 a brilliant roboticist. Megan can listen, watch, and learn the uh, as it plays the role of friend, teacher, playmate, and protector. When Gemma becomes the unexpected caretaker of her 8-year-old niece, she decides to pair the girl with a Megan prototype, a decision that leads to unimaginable consequences. So yeah, this movie, this is another movie that mixes, comedy with horror. This movie was a huge hit when it came out. Last year. Like I couldn't, literally, like I don't think anybody was expecting. I don't think anybody was expecting. That this movie to be, as big as it was. There's a sequel in development. Um, I think there's a spin-off also happening, if I remember correctly. But yeah, no, this is. I remember seeing this. Um, I remember seeing this in the theater and just like absolutely loving it. I mean, I was laughing. I was. Um, it's just a great. It's just a great, fun, scary, at times, you know, uh, good times. So yeah, so those are the best movies from Blumhouse, or what I consider to be the best movies from Blumhouse. Um, like I said before, I know they do a lot of of just shitty, like, bad movies. Um, the list is never ending in terms of like how in terms of like how many bad movies they've done. Um, one movie I will bring up. One other movie that I did really, really enjoy that I will bring up. Unfortunately, I don't have it in my collection. I've been trying to get it for some time. I will eventually get it, but it is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and it was it's obviously based on the video game, Five Nights at Freddy's. Um, that one is a movie that didn't do well critically, but commercially, it was a massive success. And Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is in development. I think it's supposed to hit theaters next year. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen that one, um, definitely check that one out because that one is also worth a watch. And one of the writers for the movie was actually Five Nights at Freddy's creator Scott Cawthon. So, which I think which I which is obviously a must. It's like if you're adapting a video game into a movie, the creators obviously need to get involved. Um, but yeah, no. So those are my best Blumhouse movies. That's it for now. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Have you seen any of these? Um, did you like them? And like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.